Hi guys, welcome back to the Makeup Illusions Beauty Room. I'm Charmaine, aka Brokin Beauty. In this series of A Brokin Beauties Moment of Brokenness Part 3, I am going to be talking to you about mixing the soil, how God is mixing the soil. But before I get into that, I definitely encourage you to go and watch part 1 and 2 of this series of A Brokin Beauties Moment of Brokenness, which basically is a step. Part 2 is a step into part 3, of course. So they all build on top of each other, if that's the way you say it. But yeah, they're all building on top of each other. This is part 3. I cannot tell you how many parts there's going to be in this series, only because for everybody's moment of brokenness is different. When God is working with people, it is definitely different. I am just taking you on the journey that God is taking me through, and just basically vlogging and keeping a journal of the certain processes and the feelings and the just basically the steps that I am going through getting to that next level. But I do encourage you guys to definitely go take a look at part 1 and part 2. I will leave a link down below for both videos. Part 1 was just me basically saying how, in part 1, I was a hot mess. I'm not even gonna lie, just a straight up hot mess, because I knew there was something going on. I knew there was like a transformation happening, but it's just coming to that realization. And when God speaks to you and he puts you in a certain place, it's just trying to figure it all out. Part 2 talks, I named that series basically Breaking Ground. And what that is talking about is transformation, how he is taking me through that transformation, cultivating and tilling the ground at this point, because he's breaking the ground up, digging all the weeds up. And that's what you do when you're in a garden. You pull the weeds so it doesn't choke out and kill all your beautiful plants or fruits or what have you. In real life, what that looks like is God is removing you out of places. He's removing people. He's removing things out of your life, because whether it be they're not ready to go to the level he's getting ready to take you to, or they've basically ran their course with you in this chapter, God is starting to basically purge these things, people, places, things out of your life. So you definitely want to take a look at those other 2 videos. Now, in this video, I will be talking about how God is mixing the soil. And we all know when we talk about gardening, when you plant your seeds, so you dig up your dirt in your backyard, and some people do. This is not saying that if you just dig up your dirt in the backyard and plant your seeds, water it, that your flowers ain't going to grow, because they will. They absolutely will. But when we start talking about mixing the soil, gardeners, a lot of gardeners go in. I know my grandmother, my dad, my mom, all that. My mom has a green thumb. Oh my God. Green thumb up the wazoo. When we were little, she had one room completely dedicated to nothing but all her plants. So that woman can grow a plant in a heartbeat. But I remember sitting and watching her, and she would go and buy fertilizer for out in the garden, her and my dad, because my dad used to plant flowers outside. My mom did more of the in the pot thing. But when she was working with him outside, they would go buy the fertilizer and then mix it up with the dirt that we were literally tilling and digging up. Why is that done? So when you go in and you plant your roses, your vegetables, or whatever it is you're planting, it's giving them the nutrients. It's feeding those seeds more healthier stuff than what the not normal ground can do. It basically makes your roots stronger, makes your flowers and everything just bloom beautifully. So what it looks like when God is mixing the soil in our life, he is basically prepping and preparing us not only to step out, but to step into our next level that he has predestined us for in our life. So that is what this episode is going to be talking about. I will be just letting you guys know, discussing how he's preparing me, and how he prepares us all really to step into our next level by mixing the soil. I will also be speaking to you about how I kind of just told God, you're wrong. I told him that. I told God he was wrong because he chose the wrong girl. And I will be going into more discussion on that, how I just really sat and had a long discussion with God and basically told him, yeah, you got the wrong person. You're asking me to do this and I'm not the right person. I'm okay sitting in the background. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know ABC. And how God just turned around, and God's response to me was, get over it. Okay, he just basically told me, get over it. It's not about you, it's about me. So yeah, I'm gonna be talking to you guys about that because God just got me all the way together. Okay, I'm going to be talking to you guys about how he used my friend Joshua in a story that happened with Joshua. He basically made me remember this story that happened with Joshua and basically bringing that story full circle. And like I said, getting me all the way together and making me fall in line so I could start preparing to walk into my purpose. So yeah, I'm going to also be giving you guys some nuggets on our negative thinking, and basically what it is, and a few tips on how we can overcome it. So I am going to be talking to you guys about all these things on the other side. I'll see you soon. So see, there was a time when I could actually stand up and talk in front of people with no worries. I had no worries at all. And that was probably because most of the time I was only talking to people I was really close to, or if it was something where I had to speak in front of a bunch of people, I didn't have a lot to say. I let all the other headliners step out and do their thing. I was happy with that. I was so happy with that. Sitting in the background. Although I like to write and I loved to write things and just recite them in my own space. But yeah, I was perfectly fine with the other headline speakers and just other people shining while I played in the background and did the background stuff. Well, God said, Okay. God was like, it's time for you to step into your purpose and activate your gifts. And I was like, hmm. I was like, okay, I've been doing that. And you see, me and God have this weird relationship. I thank God every day for not taking his hands off of me. I thank him for knowing me. He knows me so well, y'all. Because if you don't know the story, I'll just give you a little brief synopsis. God had been asking me to do this way back in like 2009, 2010, and I had been putting it off. I finally said okay in 2016, started doing what I needed to do, and God came to me again in a moment of brokenness at that time and basically said, I need you to activate your gifts. And so I surrendered. I said, okay, God, we're going to do this. So I started activating my gift, stepping into basically doing what you guys see me doing now. But God is now telling me I need you to level up. And I'm like, okay, you want me to level up? And I believed I had already leveled up. And God is like, no, I'm not talking about what you like to do. I'm talking about what I predestined you to do. And you know that. And so, we all have that period in our life where it's like God is asking us to do something. And all this time we think that we've been doing it, or you think that you've been doing it, and God is like, no, you're doing that because that's what you want to do. That's not what I'm asking you to do. So I'm going to need you to fall in line and get prepared so you can do what I'm asking you to do. Well, when God asks us to do stuff, we tend to kind of start telling God basically the plans that we have for our life, how we think our life should go. Even though we know that God is the author and the finisher of our life, we still, for whatever the reason, feel the need to tell him how we believe our life should go. And again, I'm telling you, God was like, okay, that's cute, but I need you to get it together and do what I'm telling you to do. So I was like, okay, I'm giving God all these reasons why I can't do this. I basically told him, I said, look, you want me to get out here and speak in front of these people. You want me to get out here and do this thing that I have been writing and yearning. Now, here's the funny thing. Funny part is, secretly, I guess you could say, I had always wanted to do it, but I was more comfortable playing in the background, letting other people step up and do their thing. And I was like, God, you got the wrong person. I'm not the girl for this job. I don't know how to do this. I am not a Lisa Nichols. I'm not an Oprah Winfrey. I'm not that type of person. Okay? And what we tend to do when we get put in these spaces where we think we have a bargaining chip or something to bargain with, we tend to just literally start telling God all the reasons why we can't do it. Because my reasoning was, I'm not good enough. Nobody's going to listen to me. I don't have the skills that person has. I went through a whole list of stuff. I am still going through a whole list of stuff as I speak to y'all right now. But what I realize is we tend to go through this list of stuff until we get to the truth. Truth being, I'm scared. I was fearful. I don't want to mess up in front of anybody. And that's how we get to talking to God and saying, no, I can't do this. You got the wrong person because I've never done this before. This is out of my league. And God is like, oh, you didn't know? I don't call the qualified. I qualify the ones that I call. So I'm putting you in this position. All I need you to do is do what I tell you to do, and you're going to be all right. And like I said, we just tend to keep going back in our mind, telling God all the reasons why it's not a good idea. And I just kept telling God, I can't do this. I don't understand why you want me to do this. It's not making sense. Nobody's going to listen to me. Everybody gets up and they walk out the room, and I'm going to be standing up there looking foolish. And God's response to me was, again, it's not about you. It's about me. And you were the best person for the job because you have the story that I need to get out to the people that have been or that are going through what you've been through. So I need you to prepare yourself to get in position. And I mean, I don't know if you've done that. Definitely leave a comment in the comments below. I know I still do it. Okay, I still do it, and it drives me crazy. But when God said, oh, you didn't know? I don't call the qualified. I qualify the ones I call. And I was like, okay, you got me. So basically, I said, okay. And God then sat me down and he started reminding me about my friend Joshua. And you all know Joshua. He's an old friend, basically. And he started telling me how Joshua was the understudy for Moses. And when Moses died, God went to Joshua and told Joshua, okay, my servant is dead. Because you were his understudy, I now need you to step into his place and lead these people to the river of Jordan. So as I'm listening to this story and replaying this story in my mind, I can only think, okay, all God is asking me to do is basically tell my story and, tell my story to people who have been in a position that I have been in. He asked Joshua to lead a whole tribe of people to the Jordan River, knowing that they were going to have to fight for this land, knowing that he was going to probably have people like we face in life, that are going to be rebellious, people that aren't going to want to listen, and people that are going to just be negative Nancy's. So could you just imagine, because I can, the thoughts that were going through Joshua's head. I'm sure Joshua was like, are you crazy? Because Moses went through a lot with these people. and he didn't even make it. And now you're asking me to do this job? Okay. So, as I'm listening and going through this story, I can definitely feel the overwhelm, the anxiety, the scarcity that Joshua must have felt because of a task that God was asking him to do. But here is where the beauty comes in. Because God tells Joshua in this story, he basically tells him the blessing is everything that you're going to get once you get to the Jordan River. So, and that's what we really got to keep our eyes on, is the blessing. Now, I don't know, everybody's blessing is going to be different, but what he gave or promised to Joshua and the people that Joshua was leading was basically everywhere you walk, once you get to this place, is yours. So he was literally giving them the land, that every step that they took, wherever they walked, he was giving these people the land. But his requirement was, I need you to do what I've already commanded. I need you to keep the commandments that Moses was following. I need you to follow those commandments the way they were written. And I think I know we lose sight of that because we actually tend to allow the fear. And once the fear comes in, then the negative thoughts start setting in, and we just tend to allow that fear to come in and get a hold of us. And it's like, oh my God, we freeze. Because I know, even as I speak to you guys now, and I'm going through the process, I'm going through this broken beauty moment process, or this transformation process, this ascension, however you believe, it's a process. So as I go through it, I'm like, every time I get ready to hit this button and start recording, I feel that fear. But I have to keep pushing myself and say, okay, there's a blessing at the end of this. I don't know what the blessing is, but God promised it. God is asking me to do it. And because I am a daughter of the King, I am going to go ahead and do his will, whatever he asks. And we also got to look at, like I said, I can only imagine what Joshua was thinking. But what I do know, what God did tell Joshua, if this is in the Bible, is Joshua chapter 1, and this is verse number 5. God says, Joshua, no one will be able to stand up against you as long as you live. I will be with you just as I was with Moses. I will never leave you. I will never desert you. Be strong and brave. You will lead these people, and they will take the land as their very own. It is the land I promised with an oath to give their people long ago. So really, when we look at this passage by itself, I think that was actually verse 5 and 6. When we look at that, it's like God is basically telling him, I understand that you're scared, that you're fearful, because you're going to have to battle. You are going to have to go to battle with some people for this land. I understand that. I understand that you're not always going to know what to do. You're going to have a lot of anxiety in trying to do the right thing. I get it. But what I need you to understand, and what he wants us all to understand, is that even though what you're feeling and what you're sensing is scary, know that as long as you do my will, nothing bad is going to happen. Don't deviate from it. Don't deviate from my will. Don't deviate from the commandments that I give you. Nothing bad is going to happen to you, because I've already promised you a blessing at the end of this. I just need you to go through it. And part of being a broken beauty is understanding that when God does break us, as I am going through this broken moment, as you guys will see, it's hard. It is very hard. Sometimes it can be very scary. It gets lonely. When I tell you, y'all gotta see part 1 of this series, I'm telling you, because it's like, something is happening, what you have to do. But if you've never done it, you're kind of fearful. I mean, just like with anything that we do in life, when we learn a new skill, you go on a job, you learn a new skill. I can remember when I first started in the call center, they took us through, I want to say 6 weeks or 3 months of training. And then they just threw us out there. And the first time I had to take that call, I was like, oh God, I'm going to mess up. Okay. But as soon as that first call came in, yes, I messed up. Yes, there were people that were there to walk me through and help me. But the more and more I started taking these calls, the better and better I got. And that's what we have to understand when we are going through this moment of brokenness. God took me through that cultivating point where it was like, I'm pulling all these people and places and things out of your life because some of them can't go where you're going. And my thing was, but those were the people that were cheering me on, and that's my little cheerleading squad or whatever, what have you. And God was like, I get it, but they're not qualified to go. They're not ready to go where I'm getting ready to take them. You're more qualified for the job, so I gotta pull you because I need you now. What you don't know, I will qualify you for. I will send, just like I sent those people in the call center to help you when you took that first call. I am going to send people to help you get to this next level. And we kind of lose sight of that when we are being asked to do something. And what we gotta really hold on to is that God already promised us a blessing. It's just a matter of us, like I said, doing what God is asking us to do and knowing that He is not going to let us fail. Are we going to have to fight for it? Oh yeah, you're going to have to fight for it. You're going to have to face a lot of people that don't think you deserve it, you're going to have to look them in the face and watch them give you dirty looks. And you may even see some of them saying, well, what makes her so deserving and me not? And all I can say for those people is pray for them, because they don't know that God is qualifying you. He is qualifying you for that next step. He's qualifying me right now for these steps that I am taking. He will put people in the position to help you. And what you may also tend to find is some of them people that he was cultivating and tilling and pulling, them weeds that we were pulling out that we didn't want to let go of, those may be the people that are looking at you rolling their eyes, saying, well, who does she think she is? And what makes her so much better? So, I mean, nobody said it was going to be easy. God never said it was going to be easy. He just said, if you pick up this cross and follow me, I will promise you a blessing. And that's pretty much what he told Joshua. And like I said, I can only imagine the anxiety Joshua had. Okay? Because it's like, God, I'm just an understudy. What are you talking about? Lead these people. Have you seen these people you asking me to lead? They don't listen to nobody. Okay? They doing their own thing, but you want me to lead them to the Jordan River. Okay. But you know, Joshua did. He got them to the Jordan River. But in this particular part of the chapter, I'm like, I can only imagine what Joshua was going through. Because, like I said, we tend to just start giving deals in our head and telling God all the reasons why this is not a good idea. Okay, this is not a good idea. And I can only imagine that that's what Joshua said. I don't know if he did or not. But him being an understudy, I can think possibly it's a possibility that he had a little bit of fear in him and that he was scared. But what I find interesting about this whole chapter, the whole chapter 1, is he basically told Joshua, you know, Moses had my commandments. I need you to follow the commandments. Follow them word for word as they were, because these are the law. This is the law. I need you to follow it. I need you to understand nothing's going to happen to you. But at the end of this chapter, everything that God had said before, it was no longer, this is what I'm going to do for you. It turned into a commandment. God literally flipped that thing and said, okay, I'm no longer talking to you. I'm commanding you. And I'm commanding you to understand. Here in chapter 9, he says, here is what I am commanding you to do. Be strong and brave. Do not be terrified. Do not lose hope. I am the Lord your God. I will be with you everywhere you go. And that part, that's what we have to continuously hold on to, is the fact that God is letting us know He's going to be with us wherever we go. Whatever he's asking us to do, he's going to be there to make sure that we are okay. He has his angels, but he will also step in and intercede in front of the angels if he has to. But we have to be brave and we have to be strong. And that's where I'm at right now with this whole mixing the soil, because all these negative thoughts, okay, negative thoughts are crazy, but he really and truly just flipped it and turned it into a commandment and said, okay, I'm not going to talk to you about this anymore. What I am going to do, though, is command that you be strong and you be brave. You follow the law, and you know and understand that I'm going to be with you wherever you go. So there's no need for you to fear. And I mean, that says a lot. That says a lot. That's a big statement when it comes to God. So I know, Joshua, I know, honey, I know. Whew. Joshua, I feel your spirit. I know, because I'm there. What can I say? I feel you, Josh. I feel you. Okay, just all anxiety and fear, and these people are crazy. I know, Joshua. All them negative thoughts that we just keep in our head, it's crazy. And God settled it with, I'm no longer telling, requesting. I am now commanding that you be strong, you be brave, and you do this thing that I'm asking you to do, knowing that I'm going to be with you. And we really have to keep that in the forefront of whatever it is that we start to feel ourselves getting afraid to do. We have to keep the fact that there is a blessing in the forefront of whatever it is God is asking us to do. At the end of that fear is a blessing. We just got to keep going and going and just working on it. It's going to be hard. Again, nobody told us it was going to be easy. There's going to be days, I already know, where it's like, why did I say yes? Why did I say yes to this? But we got to keep going. Y'all, we have to keep going, because the negativity will block our blessing for real. So let's talk about the negative thoughts that we have whenever we're asked to do something, or whenever we're just put on the spot and we get all these negative thoughts that come through our head. And we, like I said, in this instance, now that God has broken the ground, pulled the weeds, I had every excuse in the book as to why I was not the right person. And so God gave me the story of Joshua. And then I had to really sit down and think, because I'm like, I've come farther than this. I've spoken, I've helped people, but now that I'm beginning to get leveled up, all of a sudden I freeze up again. And what I had to start doing is really getting a handle on this negative thoughts and going back, because I am a life coach. I am actually a transformational coach and forgiveness coach. So I work with the mindset, and working with the mindset is it has showed me so much. It has broadened my spectrum on this. But does that stop me from getting the negative thoughts? No, it doesn't. It just means that sometimes I have to step back and start thinking about my coaching processes and working those with my mindset. But when we look at negative thinking, negative thoughts, what I have found in doing research, since, like I said, I'm a coach, and as I was going through my training and learning about the mindset, I really got into this negative thinking piece. So I went out and started doing my own research on why do we do that? Why do we have these negative thoughts? What is that about? And what I found out was from scientists. It was scientists. I think it's the TLEX Institute. I'm not sure, but yeah, it was the TLEX Institute. What I found in some research that I was doing with them was we have anywhere from 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts that goes through our head per day on a daily basis. 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts that just constantly on a daily basis go through our head. That's per day. Okay. Out of that, what do you say, 12 to 60,000 thoughts, okay, 80% of those thoughts are negative. So you're saying we have 12,000 to 60,000 thoughts. This is what the scientists say, that just constantly come through our head on a daily basis as we go throughout our day. Out of that 60,000, 80% of those thoughts are negative thoughts that we are thinking every day. And I was like, wow, 80%. And then the studies went further to show that 95% of those thoughts that we are thinking are repeated from the day before. So 95% of the thoughts that I thought yesterday carried over to today. And I was like, really? So that's interesting. Very interesting. So you're saying 80% of these thoughts are negative. 95% of the thoughts, whether they're negative or positive, are carrying over from the day before. And I'm thinking to myself, and we just go on our day to day, we go about our day to day, not even realizing that we got that many thoughts going through our head. But then again, that could be why I forget a lot of stuff, and that's why some of us need to write stuff down. But anyway, science is also showing that 85% of what we worry about, it never happens. So we got 60,000 thoughts, up to 60,000, anywhere between 12,000 up to 60,000 thoughts that goes through our head on a daily basis. Got these thoughts just roaming through our head. 80% of those thoughts are negative. 95% of those thoughts, whether they're negative or positive, are carrying over from the day before. And then we find out, okay, that 85% of what we worry about never happens. So what does that look like? I'm not a good speaker. People aren't going to want to hear what I have to say. People are going to get up and walk out when I even start opening my mouth. Negative thoughts. 85% of those never happen. 15% of these negative thoughts do happen. So out of that 85%, or actually out of the 80% of the negative thoughts that we have, 15% of them do happen. 79% of the people who have had these negative thoughts happen to them have actually come to terms and have realized that they could handle whatever difficulty happened when they went through with whatever it was they had this negative thought about, or whatever it was they were fearful of. They could deal with whatever difficulty came along. Or they learned a lesson worth learning in doing whatever it was, and the negative thought actually happened. So they learned from it. And to me, that was like just mind-blowing. The fact that we have that many thoughts going through our head on a daily basis. 60,000. That's a lot. And out of that 60, only 80% of those thoughts are negative. 95%, whether negative or positive thoughts, are carried over from the day before. 85% of what we think is going to happen never really happens. It's only a 15% that actually happens. And when that does happen, 79% of people, the people that it has happened to, have said, okay, I learned a lesson from it. Or they were able to deal with the issue better than they actually thought they were going to be able to deal with the issue. So when we look at negative thoughts, it's kind of like we put a lot on ourselves. We really stress ourselves out over these negative thoughts with worry that we can't do this. We get nervous. I have seen people literally start crying and passing out when I was in the call center. People literally started crying when it came to taking that first call. And it's because we get ourselves so riled up. And as I speak about this, as I speak about the negative thoughts and the things that happen, a story comes to my mind of a little boy who lived in a village of about 10,000 people. And I guess you could say this little boy was kind of like the watcher of the neighborhood. You know how you have the neighborhood watch? He was kind of like the little neighborhood watch person for the village. He would wake up every morning and run out just outside the village and climb up in a tree. And he'd be up in the tree and he just watch the people come in and out of the village. So with him being up in this tree, you already know he is like what do we call it? The nosy neighbor, basically. He knows who's coming in town. He knows who's going out of town. He knows who's supposed to be there, who's not. He basically sees all this as the people, and the little boy was doing this every day. One day, he climbs up in the tree and he's doing his normal routine, and he's calling down to Miss Jones and saying hi to the Jones family, the Bridge family, the Montoya family, the Chavez family, and he's just waving, and everybody's looking at him and shaking their head, laughing and walking off, because I'm sure in their mind they're like, the little boy is nosy, but he always up in that tree. But we got somebody to watch over the village, right? And so he's just sitting watching people come in and out, and he takes his lunch, and this is his normal routine every day. One day he goes and he gets up in the tree early in the morning, and he sees Miss Martinez getting up, or Mr. Martinez rather, getting up, getting ready to go to work, and he sees this one going to work, this one going to day school, or this one going to school. And all of a sudden, we see this stranger. He sees a stranger walking in town, dressed in a black hat, black suit, just, nice looking suit, all black. And the little boy looks, and he comes down the tree, because in his mind it's like, I know everybody who's here, I know everybody who's not supposed to be here. And did I mention, when he did see visitors, he always ran down and introduced himself. So because this man he's seen coming in to the village, he figured he's a nice looking man. He ran down and introduced himself, and we're going to call him, let's say his name is Carlton. So Carlton comes out the tree, and he runs down, and he looks at this visitor that he sees, and he goes and he shakes his hand, and he says, "Hi, my name is Carlton. Welcome to our village. What's your name?" And the man kind of looks down at him, and he's looking around the town, and he says, "Hi, Carlton." And he said, "My name is Death." And Carlton kind of like, it kind of shocked him. He steps back a little bit. He said, "Death?" He said, "Oh." He said, "Well, who are you here to visit?" And he said, "I'm not just here to visit one person." He said, "I'm here to visit many." And so little Carlton, of course, his eyes get big, and in bewilderment, he's like, "So you're saying more than one person's going to pass away?" And Death tells him, yes. He said, "I'm here to take 2,000 lives." And Carlton's eyes grew big, and he was like, "Well, do you know who they are?" And Death was like, "Young man, I have a job to do." He said, "By tonight, my job will be finished." And as he said that, he stepped past little Carlton and proceeded to walk into the village. So, of course, little Carlton, being little Carlton, runs home, and he tells his parents. And of course, by the evening, by the time everybody gets off work, everybody has heard that Death is visiting. Death is in town, and Death is visiting. So the next morning, little Carlton wakes up, and little Carlton runs, and he sees the newspaper stand. And on the newspaper it says headline, 4,000 people dead. Carlton kind of got this little bewilderment look on his face, like 4,000. And the headline read, breaking news, 4,000 people's lives taken by death. So Carlton kind of wrapped, he folded the paper up and climbed up in his tree and proceeded with his day. And of course, it was a little bit different. The day was a little bit different because he heard the people that were mourning and crying for their loved ones. He's still seen some people going out to work. And it kind of got a little dreary to where the little village it was silence. So as Carlton sat up in the tree and he was watching the people come in and out, and which really there weren't that many people because, as I said, a lot of them were mourning, and he sees death exiting the village. So Carlton jumps out of his tree and he runs over to Death, and he's like, Death, can I speak to you for a minute? And Death kind of like, with a little bit of an annoying look here, but he turns around and he says, yes, Carlton. He said, what is it? And Carlton pulls the paper from up under his little arm, and he opens it up and he tells Death, he says, you said you were only going to take 2,000 lives, right? Death said, yeah. And I did as I said I was going to do. Carlton said, oh no. He said, this paper says you took 4,000 lives. And Death looked, read the paper, he shook his head and gave a little smirk, and he said, now, Carlton, he said, I took 2,000 lives. He said the other 2,000 worried themselves to death. So the moral of the story is we will worry ourselves to death about negative stuff that may not even touch us. Again, science shows, okay, out of all those, 80% of the thoughts that we worry about are negative. Only 80% of them. And out of that 85 of those thoughts, whether good or bad, never really happen. But we worry ourselves to death over them. So we really need to keep our eye on the prize. And in this moment of brokenness, I really believe that's what God is trying to get me to. I need you to stay focused on the blessing. Don't worry about the negative stuff that can happen. Focus. I'm going to be there with you. I'm not going to let anything happen to you. But if you follow my commandments, I promise you, you will be blessed. So really, that's really what we have to look at when we are looking at the levels and things, or anytime we face something that is brand new to us, something that we've never done. Yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, we're going to have some people that don't like the fact that we're doing it just because we're doing it. But there's a blessing on the other side. If we continue to live in this negative path of thinking, we are going to, as the people in the village, 2,000 people, we're going to worry ourselves to death. And for what? For something that really may never even happen. So I also teach in my coaching with the mindset that we have to understand we can only control ourselves. We cannot control what other people think, say, or do. But that's another teaching that I have in my training. That's all I have for you guys. I hope this was a blessing for you. If so, definitely click the like and subscribe. I will be back with the next part 4 of my series of A Brokin Beauties Moment of Brokenness, to keep you guys updated on what's going on. Definitely click the link to subscribe. The Brokin Beauty portion will be breaking off into its new channel also. I've already built the channel. Just working on a few more details before I start moving everything for Brokin Beauty over to that side. So definitely be on the lookout for that. I thank you guys for joining me, and I will talk to you soon. God bless. Bye.